I don't know when I started waiting. Maybe it was when I was a teenager. Maybe it was when I fell in love for the first time. Maybe it was when I learned that good girls don't ask for too much. They wait. They wait politely. They wait quietly. They wait forever. At least that's what I was taught. I waited for people to choose me. I waited for someone to understand me. I waited for a love that didn't hurt. I waited for a life that felt like mine. I waited for the right moment. I waited and waited and waited. And one day I woke up and realized I had waited through half of my life. When I was younger, I used to believe that patience was a virtue, that good things come to those who wait. It sounded wise. It sounded gentle. It sounded safe. But what nobody tells you is that too much waiting becomes a prison. I waited for my parents' approval. I waited for friends to treat me better. I waited for boyfriends to grow up. I waited for men to change. I waited for apologies that never came. I waited for love that wasn't broken. And the saddest part? I thought waiting made me loyal. I thought waiting made me strong. I thought waiting made me worthy. In reality, waiting just made me disappear. I was 29 when I met him. And like many women at that age, I mistook consistency for love and potential for a future. He was charming, but unavailable. He liked me, but not enough to commit. He said beautiful things, but never followed through. And instead of leaving, I waited. I waited for him to be ready. I waited for him to figure out his life. I waited for him to heal. I waited for him to see my value. I waited for the day he would wake up and finally choose me. It took me 8 years to understand that if someone wants you, you don't have to wait for them. 8 years. 8 years of almost. 8 years of maybe. 8 years of half promises and broken tomorrows. I wasn't just waiting for him, I was waiting for myself to be brave enough to walk away. The change didn't come suddenly. There was no dramatic fight, no cheating, no screaming, no final words. It came from something small. One night, I looked at myself in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman staring back. I looked tired. Not from work, not from age, but from carrying a life that wasn't mine. My reflection felt like a stranger, someone who had spent so long waiting in the hallway that she forgot what it felt like to step through her own door. And then, quietly, almost like a whisper, a thought came. No one is coming to save you. It didn't feel like a punishment. It felt like freedom. The kind of freedom that comes only when you finally stop lying to yourself. I woke up one morning, made myself a cup of coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Stillness. Clarity. Truth. I realized I had been waiting for love from someone who didn't know how to love, waiting for respect from someone who didn't respect himself, waiting for a future with someone who never imagined one with me. So I stopped. Not dramatically, not violently, not angrily. I simply stopped waiting. I sent him a message. Short, calm, clear. I deserve a life that isn't on hold. I'm letting you go. He responded hours later, confused, surprised, maybe even a little panicked. But it didn't matter, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting for his reaction. I wasn't waiting for his approval. I wasn't waiting for his love. I chose myself. Leaving him didn't bring instant happiness. It brought grief, pain, silence, loneliness, but also something new. something I hadn't felt in years: space. When you stop waiting for someone else, you finally make room for yourself. I cleaned my apartment. I threw away old gifts, old letters, old hopes. I took long walks, breathed fresh air, listened to music, sat alone in cafes, not waiting for anyone, not watching my phone, not imagining a future with him. For the first time, I wasn't living between moments. I was living in them. It didn't change quickly. It didn't change dramatically. It changed quietly, softly, gently. She rediscovered herself. She started reading again. She reconnected with old friends. She learned new things, took new classes, started smiling again. Not the polite smile, but the real one. She forgave herself for staying too long, for loving too much, for waiting too patiently. And slowly, very slowly, she realized something powerful. She didn't lose years, she learned them. She grew, she matured, she became the woman who could finally say, "I will never wait for someone again." You see, waiting is not romantic. It's not loyal. It's not noble. It's self-abandonment disguised as love. Waiting says, your needs matter more than mine. Your timing matters more than mine. Your love is more valuable than my life. And she finally understood, a love that makes you wait is not love. A person who makes you wait is not your person. And a life spent waiting is not a life. She became a woman who no longer apologizes for wanting more, no longer waits for consistent love, no longer accepts crumbs, no longer hopes someone will change, no longer puts her life on pause for anyone. She became a woman who lives in her own timing, a woman who speaks her truth, a woman who chooses herself first, without guilt, without fear, without hesitation. And now, when people ask her, "Are you waiting for someone?" she smiles softly and says, "No, I stopped waiting. Now I live."